She never had a name, but someone like her once lived. This is her story.
Some sounds stay with you forever. But of all the sounds that echoed through those dark years, none haunted Anna Kay more than the sound of knocking. She lived in the attic of a narrow house on Prinsengracht, the same street where merchants once sold their finest goods, where children once played hopscotch on cobblestones, where life once moved with the rhythm of ordinary days. But by 1944, ordinary had become a memory. The attic was cramped, so cramped that when Anna stretched her arms, she could almost touch both walls. A single window overlooked the courtyard below. Through that glass, she watched the world grow smaller each day. There was a bed pushed against the corner, a wooden table that creaked when she leaned on it, and always, always, her journal. Black leather cover, worn smooth at the edges, pages filled with words that no child should ever have to write. Anna spent her days by that window, watching, waiting, recording the fragments of life that still dared to exist in the streets below. And that's where she first saw him. It was a Monday in October. Rain drummed against the glass as Anna sat with her journal open, trying to find words for the emptiness that had settled over the city like fog. Movement in the courtyard caught her eye. A small figure darted between the shadows, quick and purposeful, like a sparrow dodging cats. He couldn't have been more than 11 or 12. Thin arms, wheat-colored hair that stuck up at odd angles, clothes too big for his small frame. But it wasn't his size that made Anna lean closer to the window. It was what he carried. Wrapped in brown paper, clutched against his chest like treasure, was something that had become more precious than gold in those days. Bread. The boy moved with practiced stealth. He glanced left, then right, checking shadows that might hide watching eyes. Then he approached the door below Anna's window. One quick knock, just one. Before Anna could blink, he was gone, vanished back into the maze of narrow alleys that wound through the old city like veins. Anna stared at the empty courtyard for a long time after he disappeared. She had witnessed something remarkable, something dangerous, an act of kindness. The next Monday he came again, same time, same cautious approach, same single knock on the door below. Anna began to watch for him, to count the minutes until 2 o'clock on Monday afternoons, to position herself by the window with her journal ready, as if documenting his visits could somehow make them more real. She learned his patterns, the way he checked the street twice before crossing, how he always approached from the east side of the courtyard, where the shadows ran deepest, the exact rhythm of his knock, quick but not urgent, and she learned his name, Thomas. She heard it whispered by Mrs. Vanderberg, who lived on the floor below. Mrs. Vanderberg, who answered that single knock each Monday and accepted the small package with hands that trembled with gratitude. Thomas worked at the bakery on the corner, the one with the red awning that had faded to pink over the years. His job was simple enough: sweep the floors at the end of each day, stack the leftover bread, keep his mouth shut about what he saw and heard. But Tomas had discovered something else he could do with those leftover loaves. He could steal them, not for himself. Tomas never took so much as a crumb for his own hunger. He stole bread for the people who had become invisible, the ones who lived in attics and basements and hidden rooms throughout Amsterdam, the ones the world had decided should no longer exist. Anna wondered how many stops Tomas made each Monday, how many doors received that single careful knock, how many families waited by their windows the way she did, hoping to see a small figure with wheat-colored hair carrying salvation wrapped in brown paper. She wondered, too, how long his luck would hold. Because in 1944 Amsterdam, kindness was a luxury that could cost you everything. For weeks, Anna's Mondays followed the same ritual. 2 o'clock would arrive, and with it, Thomas. One knock, a brief exchange at the door below, then silence until the following week. Anna began to look forward to these moments with an intensity that surprised her. In a world that had been drained of color and hope, watching Thomas became her anchor to the belief that goodness still existed, that people still cared enough to risk everything for strangers. But on a gray Monday in February, the ritual changed. Anna was at her usual post by the window, journal open, pencil ready. 2 o'clock came and went. No Thomas. She pressed her face against the cold glass, scanning the empty courtyard below. Nothing moved except a few dead leaves, caught in lazy spirals by the wind. Minutes crawled by, then an hour. Still no sign of the boy with the bread. Anna felt something cold and heavy settle in her stomach. Thomas had never been late before, never missed a Monday. She closed her journal without writing a single word. That night, she lay awake listening to every sound in the building. Footsteps on the stairs, whispered conversations through thin walls, the distant rumble of trucks in the street. But no knock at the door. The following Monday, Anna positioned herself by the window earlier than usual. 1:30, then 1:45. Her hands gripped the windowsill as 2 o'clock approached. And then, at exactly 2 o'clock, she heard it. The sound that had become the rhythm of her weeks. A knock. Relief flooded through Anna as she looked down at the courtyard. There he was, Thomas, still alive, still free, still carrying his precious cargo. But something was different. His movements were slower, more cautious. And when Anna looked closer, she could see dark stains on his too large coat. Thomas reached the door and raised his hand. One knock. But then something happened that made Anna's blood turn to ice. A second knock. Thomas had never knocked twice before. Never. In the silence that followed, Anna could hear her own heartbeat pounding in her ears. Below, she knew that Mrs. Vanderburg and the others were frozen with fear, because everyone who lived in hiding knew the rules. 1 knock meant safety, 2 knocks meant danger. The door below remained closed. Anna watched as Thomas stood there waiting, his small shoulders hunched against the cold, his breath visible in small puffs of white. Minutes passed, long, terrible minutes. Finally, the door opened just a crack. Even from 3 floors above, Anna could see that something was wrong with Thomas. His left arm hung at an odd angle. He swayed slightly, as if standing upright required effort. He had been hurt. Gentle hands reached out and pulled him inside. The door closed with a soft click, and the courtyard fell silent once more. But Anna remained at the window, staring at the spot where Thomas had stood, where he had knocked twice. That night, for the first time in weeks, Anna wrote in her journal. Her hand shook as she formed the words, and she had to stop several times to wipe tears from the page. She wrote about courage that came in small packages, about the price of kindness in a world gone mad, about a boy who risked everything to feed strangers. But mostly she wrote about the sound of 2 knocks and what they meant. The next morning brought answers Anna wasn't sure she wanted to hear. Mrs. Vanderburg climbed the narrow stairs to the attic. Her face was pale, her eyes red-rimmed from crying. She sat heavily on Anna's bed and told her what had happened. Thomas had been caught red-handed stealing bread from the bakery where he worked. The baker, a man named Henrik, who had been growing suspicious of missing inventory, had waited in the shadows and watched. But instead of calling the authorities immediately, Henrik had made Tomas an offer. A choice. "Lead us to the people you've been feeding," Henrik had said, "and we'll go easy on you. Give us names, addresses, help us clean up this neighborhood once and for all, or face the consequences alone." Tomas had chosen to face the consequences alone. They had beaten him first. Not severely enough to require a doctor, but enough to make their point clear. Then they had thrown him in a cell beneath the police station and left him there for 3 days. No food, no water, no blanket against the cold. When they brought him out for questioning, Tomas sat in silence. They asked for names, and he said nothing. They demanded addresses, and he stared at the floor. They threatened him with worse than beatings, and still he refused to speak. Not a single name passed his lips. Not one address was revealed. Not one hidden family was betrayed. After a week of this, they released him with a warning. Any more trouble, any more missing bread, any more contact with undesirable elements, and he would disappear permanently. That's when he came to knock twice, not to deliver bread this time. His stealing days were over. The risk was too great, not just for him, but for everyone he tried to help. The second knock was a message. It was goodbye. Mrs. Vanderberg reached into her apron pocket and pulled out a small piece of paper, creased and stained with words written in a child's careful handwriting. "He asked me to give you this," she said, placing it in Anna's trembling hands. Anna unfolded the paper slowly, afraid of what she might find. The message was brief, just 7 words that changed everything. "Thank you for watching from the window." He had known. All along, through weeks of careful Monday visits, Tomas had known that someone was watching. Someone up in the attic window cared enough to notice his small acts of extraordinary courage. And somehow that knowledge had been enough to sustain him through beatings and imprisonment and threats. The simple awareness that his kindness was witnessed had given him strength. Anna folded the note carefully and pressed it between the pages of her journal. She would keep it there for the rest of her life, a reminder of what she had learned from a boy with wheat-colored hair. That courage often comes in the smallest packages. That kindness is never truly invisible, and that sometimes simply bearing witness to goodness is its own form of resistance. Anna never saw Tomas again after that February Monday. She heard rumors occasionally that he had left Amsterdam, that he had found work on a farm in the countryside, that he was safe. She hoped the rumors were true, but whether they were or not, she never forgot the lesson he had taught her. Every Monday at 2 o'clock, Anna would position herself by the window and remember. She would think about the sound of footsteps in the courtyard, about small hands knocking once for bread and twice for goodbye. And she would write in her journal, recording not just what she had seen, but what it meant. That even in the darkest times, there are those who choose kindness over safety, who choose courage over comfort, who risk everything for the simple belief that no one should go hungry, no one should be forgotten, no one should face the darkness alone. This is just one of the stories Anna Kay left behind. One of many moments she recorded during those long months of watching and waiting and hoping. Some of her stories end with rescue. Some end with loss. This one ends with remembering. Remembering a boy named Tomas, who knocked once to help and twice to say goodbye, and in doing so, taught a girl in an attic window that bearing witness to courage is its own form of bravery. The sound of 2 knocks echoed long after the war ended, long after Anna was free to walk the streets again, long after the world tried to return to normal. Because some sounds once heard stay with you forever, And some acts of kindness once witnessed change you in ways you never expected. This was one of them. But Anna Kay's journal holds many more stories. Stories of courage that came in unexpected forms, of choices that changed everything, of people who refused to let darkness win. In her next entry, she wrote about a woman who sang lullabies through thin walls to comfort children she'd never met. About a man who left coded messages in library books. About a girl who drew pictures of the world she hoped to see again. Each story, a reminder that even in humanity's darkest hour, light found a way to break through. What do you think happened to Tomas? Did he make it to safety? Did he ever know how much his courage meant to the people watching from hidden windows? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. If this story touched your heart, please give this video a like. It helps us share these forgotten voices with more people who need to hear them. And don't forget to subscribe to The Diary of Anna Kay for more untold stories from Anna Kay's hidden pages. Stories that history overlooked but should never be forgotten. Hit that notification bell so you never miss a story. Because some voices, once silenced, deserve to echo forever. The next chapter from Anna Kay's journal is already waiting. Will you be there to listen? Thank you for keeping these memories alive.